and viewers to TDN Radio and in particular This Week in Interview. Welcome to this week's episode of This Week in Interview. It's season 14, episode number 7. And you are with me, your host, Anthony Drago. So it's a pleasure, as usual, to spend the next hour or so with you. And of course, I am so grateful that you could make it. I'm going to give you a minute to share the link, share the live, invite 5 people to view us or listen to us. Let's get all of this brilliant information. Today is the penultimate day in February, one before the last day of February. February we've been treating as Love Month. And so tonight we are going to focus on love, motherly love, romantic love, erotic love, sibling love, friendship love, all kinds of love. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I hope that you had a chance to grab a drink, water. It's Wednesday night, but if you want to have something stronger, it's up to you. Um, as I said, today is the 28th of February. We happen to be in a leap year. So tomorrow is the last day of February. February being the month in which Valentine's Day celebration takes place. We declared it the love month, and we did a Valentine's Day special. And with Mike Drago. And last week we did some fashion that provided you some ideas of how you can um, get gifts and so on for your loved ones with Miss ASCII sisters. And tonight we decided that we're going to keep in the theme of love. My guest tonight on This Week in Interview is Miss Catherine Dorsette, and we're going to talk to her about her trilogy of books. But let me just say, my regular listeners, welcome back. I always appreciate you making the time to join me on a Wednesday night. If tonight you're listening for the first time, welcome. I hope you really like what you hear, what you see, sufficiently to make you come back, and you eventually will be in the class of the regular listeners. If you're in Dominica, welcome. You might be listening to us on RVR Jams on DigiPlay channel 59, and in the Toronto area, you might be listening to us live on SBE Online Radio. Of course, we are on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, all the regular social media platforms. And I encourage you to hit the like button, um, and subscribe, hit the notification bell so that as this weekend interview and other TDN programs come on, you can get your notification. So tonight, my guest on this weekend interview is somebody I consider to be a very good friend, although we've never met in person. But we've had several long conversations. We've spoken about so many things that I consider her to be definitely a good friend, a close friend of mine. And of course, she is super talented as an author. Uh, I think this is her 13th book. I believe it might be even be more. She'll correct me when she comes on. She's a journalist, an award-winning journalist. She's received fellowship awards as far as Japan and Taiwan in 1995, 1997. and she has received prizes for taking part in short story competition. She also has received awards from the Peter International Film Festival. My brother Imuja and his wife does that out of St. Lucia. And of course, and she is a daughter of the soil from the Nature Isle. She currently resides on the Emerald Isle, Montserrat. And so join me to give a very warm welcome, a hearty welcome to my very good friend, Miss Catherine Dorsette. Catherine, it's a pleasure to have you. Welcome back to this speaking interview.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me. It's really an honor.
And when you go away, you stay away too long, okay?
I
Although
promise not to.
although I recognize that you come back practically every Wednesday night. When I don't see you as part of the audience, I know something particular is happening. So I want to thank you for your support as well, right off the bat. So the reason why I have you on here is because you are this talented author that just knows how to tell a story, how to tell a story that captivates and activates our imagination and our senses. You capture the way you write is so vivid that it's so easy for you to place your reader in the actual geographic spot of where the story is taking place. Um, Although I haven't been to Montserrat, I've been in Montserrat several times because you've written books on Montserrat. And then you wrote the sequel to that called Jordan. And now you have the third book in your trilogy, um, A Woman Like Cass. So, first of all, congratulations. There are some of us who talk about writing but never write, at least not write and share it with the world. But you are on number 13. Am I correct?
Yes.
You're on number 13. All right. So, where do we begin? Um, because you haven't been here for a while, we've picked up quite a few new audience members. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the audience, tell them who you are, and then we'll delve into your passion for writing and we'll just keep it flowing from there.
Well, good night again to everyone. I am Catherine Dorsette, originally from the nature island of Dominica. I live on Montserrat now with my husband and my daughter. My son was here until just recently. He has relocated. I work with the government of Montserrat and I love to write. And God has made it in such a way that even with the work that I do, I actually really get to also write.
Hmm.
I write programs and proposals, most of which get executed by my department. They get funded and executed by my department. So I am just doing what I love to do, which is writing. Writing is like breathing to me. If I don't write, I'm gonna be sick. That is my safe place. So I get to do it at home and at work. So I have a lot to thank God for.
Wow. So have you always been like that? Have you always been a writer?
From as far back as I can remember, I didn't used to really write before. From about age 9, what I do remember is my mother asking me to tell her a story every night. I think I may have mentioned it
Hmm.
before. And because she was not very versed in reading and writing, she would go to the library right next to DBS radio and get discarded books, bring them home, and ask me to read her a story. But as small as I was, I could always read. And the books were just old mathematic books or some kind of technical books. So there wasn't a story to tell. So what I did was just make up a story. And every night I made up a story.
Wow.
And then one night she wanted a particular story because she liked it so much. And of course, because I was just making up the stories as I go, for the life of me, I couldn't remember what it was that I told her the night before. And she realized that I had just been doing up stories. And she was very strict. She didn't believe in lying because she always felt if you lie, then you can steal, and if you steal, then you can kill. And that wasn't happening on her watch. So I got a beating for lying because I was pretending to read. But then what she did was get me an exercise book. And she said, Dudu, you know what? Every time you think of a story, write it down. And I've been writing ever since.
Wow, that was very insightful of her
It
to
was. I
buy
wish
you
she
that book.
was alive to have seen at least my first book, but life happens.
Well, if you depend on your belief system, you believe that she sees, and and when people transition, they don't just disappear. They continue to exist in the spirit world, and some people believe that means that they're ever present.
Well, let me put it like this. What I do believe is like the guy who had Disney World. He had the vision, and although he wasn't there to see it, he painted it exactly as he wanted it to be. So
Right,
I know that she knew I could write. So when she died, she knew it was going to happen. I don't necessarily believe that she's seeing now, but I know that she knew I could do it, and that comforts me.
right. It's as though I have a similar belief in that because I'm a tree hugger, environmental wise. If it was up to me, no trees would get cut down. But
Mm,
when you see people my age plant a tree, are not necessarily planting it for our enjoyment. Because by the time that tree becomes a mature and adult and tall tree where it can provide shade, most likely I may not be there anymore.
true.
And so that's what your mom did. She
She
planted that
planted the
seed,
seed. She did.
and now it's blossoming and bearing fruit, and we get to enjoy
Give into
all
that.
of it. Yeah. So I'm going to start backwards, just because the book that brought you on is the third book in your trilogy, A Woman Like Cass. And so you wrote these three books. The first one was Fire on Montserrat. The second one was named Jordan, simply Jordan. And this third one is A Woman Like Cass. So let me ask you, although it's a trilogy, and the first one, when you did the second one, you said the saga continues, and this third one, you said the saga ends. Are each of those books independent stories of their own, or do you have to start from number one and then go to two and then go to three?
The first book was just a book to commemorate 20 years of living in a live volcano. But my readers, they read it and they said, don't stop there. You know, give us another piece, give us some more. And it really wasn't my idea. I hadn't planned it at all.
Hmm.
And I said, well, why not? Because the way Fire on Montserrat ended, if you wanted to, you could continue, or you could leave it as is.
So,
And
so
I
that
decided,
was a
okay,
story. That's a
yes,
complete story. Okay.
it was a
Hmm.
complete story.
Hmm.
So I decided, okay, because the possibility is there, why not give it a try? And I
Right.
came up with Jordan because the
Hmm.
first book is Kyler and Derek,
Hmm.
and Jordan is their son. And then they wanted more. I said, okay, it felt really good because they really liked the characters, they got involved with them. And I was thinking, well, because I thought Jordan was done, what else could I write? And I said, okay, why not let Jordan and his girlfriend be the star? But the focus would really be on the girlfriend
Hmm.
because Jordan is, um, he grew up with his adopted mother who was really fierce. So he's really, really intimidated by authority and so on. And so we have Dr. Cass, typical Dominican woman. She stands by her man and she figure, look, to get to him, you have to come to me first. And so it's a woman like us. She really gives him the oomph to
Hmm.
stand up for himself.
She's his
And
backbone.
yes, and being who she is, she ends up having a daughter who takes from her mother, and then whoops, I flew up with it. And I decided, okay, this is it. I am killing it there. I'm not doing anything after a woman like us.
Okay.
So I
So
ended it, I rounded it up.
So a trilogy is three. When you
Yes.
have four, what do you call it?
Ooh. Well, that's a good one. It's like singing maybe a quartet.
No, no, no. I'm just messing with you because maybe a quartet. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just messing with you because
Yeah.
when you did Fire on Montserrat, it was a complete work, uh, and then you got encouragement and inspiration, and you did Jordan, which is a
Yep.
complete work, and then time went on, and you did A Woman Like Cass, and you are just as convinced now as you were two previous times that this is it. So I'm just waiting
Continue seed.
to see. I'm just waiting to see when number four comes out. So
Mm.
before we dive into the books, let's segue a little bit, right? You live on Montserrat
I do.
and the Emerald Isle, and one of the things that Montserrat is that has made Montserrat a household name around the world is the volcano.
Hmm.
And at the time that it was active and really erupting, a lot of folks were of the opinion, that the country was devastated. And then here you come, and we find out that there actually are people living in Montserrat.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely.
what is the experience like? Let's just spend some time and talk to us about, because we're from the Caribbean, so we're more familiar with hurricanes. What
Okay.
is it like living with an active and erupting volcano?
My story about living with an active volcano is not quite complete because the eruptions started in 95
Hmm.
and peaked in 97. I wasn't living on Montserrat then. I
Hmm.
had visited Montserrat in 93
Hmm.
just for 2 week camp, and it was a lovely place. I had never seen a golf course before. And the first place I actually walked on a golf course, saw a golf course, was in Montserrat.
Was in Montserrat.
And then, of course, that was 93. Then the volcano erupted. And in 2001, I came to live on Montserrat with my two children. My daughter was 12, my son was 16.
Hmm. Teenagers, pretty much.
And I went back to find that golf course, and it was completely destroyed.
Oh
And I
wow.
felt so heartbroken just about a golf course. And I
Hmm.
was asking myself, if I can feel so torn about something like that, I cannot even begin to imagine how the people felt losing family and friends and property. So it was a really moving situation. I started to work as a reporter there, like I did back home in Dominica. And then I transitioned to the government.
Hmm.
And I've been working with the government ever since. Fire on Montserrat was actually my way of giving back to the community because in 2015, the government was doing a reunion and celebrating 20 years of living with a live volcano. And there had been so many stories about what was happening in Montserrat. CNN did interviews. I mean, it's like everything that needed to be said had been said. So I thought I would take it at a different angle.
Hmm.
It's a volcano. Why not make it for the home run? Two lovers separated by the volcano, meeting 20 years later, which would be 2015, and trying to find that love again. And I just ran with it. I wasn't sure how it would end, but it ended very well. And my readers went with it. And one girl called me. It was about after 9 or so. And she said, Mrs. Dorsett, don't tell me you killed Kyla. So for a minute there, I was taken aback. I was wondering what she's talking about. Because I was wondering because in Fire on Monster, the very first book, Kyla
Hmm.
meets with an accident. But she was so engrossed and she had gotten to love Kyla so much that she actually called me almost in tears. She wanted to know if I had killed her off. I told her no, and she continued reading. So it was a really
Oh, she
nice
wasn't
moment
finished
for me.
reading. She wasn't
She hadn't
finished.
finished reading.
Don't tell me you killed. That is these people who read books and they flip to the last page and say,
Mm,
"Okay, okay, she didn't die. I can continue. I can continue reading now." But it's a wonderful thing when you can actually have access to the author. But
yes.
So, what is life like? Do you guys have regular reports on activity? Are there tremors? What is everyday
Well,
like?
we have the MVO, which is the Montserrat Volcano Observatory,
Hmm.
and sometimes they are scheduled meetings. And right now, I think we are orange, which is because the volcano is dormant.
Hmm.
Life goes on like anywhere else in the world. We have a government, we have elections, we have everything.
Hmm.
Some of them may not be at the top quality. For example, our hospital is small, but we have a hospital, we have clinics around the island, we have gas stations. The population is small, it's about 4,000 plus now because some persons have traveled,
Hmm.
and we are working on, youth retention right now because the place is small, and the government job market can only absorb so many. We about 60 students aged 16 leave secondary school every year, and the market cannot absorb them. So we lose a lot of young people. So there's that. But the island is like Dominica,
Hmm.
very green, very quiet. We used to say for Dominica, crime free. That is changing, but even here on Montserrat, apart from the petty theft, and maybe every 10 years somebody decide to do something horrendous,
Hmm.
it's really a nice, quiet place, very much like Dominica. The
Wow.
people are friendly, and life goes on.
Have people started going back to the areas that were like
Some of
affected
them.
by?
Some of the areas, there is an exclusion zone where
Hmm.
nobody's allowed in, and that's about almost a third back east. But
Right.
there is places closer to the north area, which is the inhabited area, and the young men are allowed to do motorsports. Some persons go over and they clean their homes. So that is a safe area where tourists go to on tours, and people can go across during the day, look at their places, or just go on picnics. But there are certain areas that are definitely
Off
excluded from
limits,
any
right?
travel.
Mm. So you say people can go and clean their homes, but they cannot like move back in.
No, they're not moving back in. Although there is a section, the closest section to the north of the island in the exclusion zone, but to the north of the island, where it's called Isles Bay,
Hmm.
where the expats live, and persons who have retired, bought homes, and Americans and different nationalities.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
these persons, they occupy their homes, they live there because it's a safe area. And past that, you have Cock Hill, which is where they do the racing. And beyond that, you may do a little sightseeing, but you cannot go too far
So they
because
have
that
like
is
young men have drag racing and
right.
mm,
So,
interesting.
we try to make sure they have something to do, let off steam and
Hmm. 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 How is do you get somebody's asking how is tourism? Do you guys is there a
tourism.
lot of
We do have visiting ships. They pass by. It is not as much as we would like,
hmm
but they do come by. They have to go through Antigua, so it's a package tour. They have specific stops. It's like any other Caribbean island. The
right?
only difference is we just know there's a sleeping volcano around there. Other than that, you would think you are anywhere else in the world.
So there's agriculture and
Agriculture, schools, shopping,
mm-hmm.
writers, singers, artists. You have festival. You have St. Patrick's.
St. Patrick's, right? Hmm.
People come down in droves to enjoy themselves and go back home. And then for the year-end festival in December, where you have the Queen Show and the Calypso Monarch and the Soca Monarch. I mean, it's like any Caribbean country.
Wow. Okay. That's cool. That is wonderful. Somebody's Kate Knapp um
Oh, Kate.
Kate Knapp
Yes.
Ambler is telling you hello and she's listening.
Hi, Kate. She was one of the first persons to read Fire on Montserrat. She also wanted more. So for Kate and Shirley Spikala, who spearheaded it, they are all in.
Okay,
They are all in.
so for folks who read Fire on Montserrat and Jordan, what is special about a woman like Cass? Without giving away too much of the plot, obviously.
Without giving away too much, a woman like Cass helps Jordan to realize that he's a wonderful man and he can stand on his own. He doesn't have to be afraid to put his hat out there because there's somebody who can respond, and she teaches him what true love really is. True love will not emasculate you. It uplifts you, it makes you hold your head high. That is what Cass does for Jordan. And she does it well.
And she does it well. Okay. And so when Jordan ended, you pick up a woman like Cass. So Jordan in the book, Jordan, is he a grown man, a teenager?
He's 21
He's
in
21
Jordan.
in Jordan. But
And
in a
he's
woman like
torn
Cass, he's married.
between, yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. He's
Well,
torn
he's
between.
21 and he's torn between his adopted mother, who is a vicious woman, and his biological parents, who are Kyla and Derek from
Mhm.
um,
Fire on one
Fire on
strap.
Montserrat. And he's learning little by little that they really care about him. And he's reaching out where he wants to reach out. And because of Cass, her encouragement, he actually does reach out, which is what a woman like Cass is really all about, bringing them together. And then Velda, oh dear, Velda. Velda gets it into her head to kidnap Jordan and Cass's daughter. And you have to read a woman like Cass to find out how Cass deals with Velda. You will love it. Everybody who wanted something to happen to Velda, whether they wanted her to die or they just wanted her to get beaten up, they will love a woman like Cass.
So Velda is a villain
Oh my goodness, a
that
villain of
makes it
villains.
into a woman like Cass.
Yep.
Awesome. So, folks, before we take the break, Catherine, I want you to just tell people how they can find your work.
You can find it on my website, which is www.catherinedorsett.com. Or you can go to Amazon, look for Catherine Dorsett. I have an author's page there, and all of my books are there. But definitely on my website,
Catherine Dorsette
dorset.com.
dot com. That's where I would encourage you to go, folks. And no matter where they are, they can order it,
They can order it.
and it will come to them very similar to as if they went to Amazon to get it. Right?
Yes.
Right. Because I know a lot of offers, if they had a choice, they would sell outside of the Amazon. And the advantage of Amazon is that they have so much eyes on, and it's so easy um, to go ahead and make a purchase on Amazon. But I understand that the authors do not get um, a big portion of the proceeds. So if they go on catherinedorsett.com, you benefit more than if they go on Amazon. Is that
Well, not
not
really.
really?
I
Okay.
haven't quite set it up as a bookstore
Hmm.
because when you go to catherinedorsett.com, you get much more than what is on the Amazon page. But when you
Hmm.
do click on the book, it takes you to the Amazon market. So you
Or it's
get the
still to
book
buy
from
it from them.
Amazon.
Okay, okay, okay.
One of the things I think that happens to some authors like myself, I'm not sure it's because we are not um, in Europe or in America, but our prices are so high, and there isn't much that we can do about it. Because if you do not select a particular price, then that book isn't going to go up. So you have to stick to a particular price, promote it, and hope that people actually buy it. Because Amazon prices can be steep.
Right, right. So, but your cost a little bit more because you're international. You're not,
Yes,
yeah,
I
you're more
think that
so,
is it.
yeah. So, folks, the idea is to support, and you get the bonus of a told story. You can tell from my conversation that Catherine is a storyteller, and she has a vivid imagination. And as I said, she has that gift where she can place the story and describe it in such a way that you actually feel as though you are right there with the characters, um, observing, Sometimes you wish you could jump in and slap somebody. Um, sometimes you wish you could jump in and wring somebody's neck. But that is the hallmark of a good writer. Didi Easter is saying Montserrat was once referred to as the Emerald Isle for its
It still is.
resemblance to the coastal island. How does the destruction of the part of the island green space affect this description? You can answer real quick before we go to break.
Montserrat is still the Emerald Isle of the Caribbean, and it's the only country in the world apart from Ireland that celebrates St. Patrick's Day. And it is just as green in the north as the whole island used to be. Even now, with the volcano asleep, it is so green on the other side in the exclusion zone. Just that it is not habitable, but it
Mm,
is green everywhere.
mm. Yeah, I I have a story about that. When I was in high school, one of my best friends had kind of ginger hair. This is like the Irish women.
Hmm.
Um, Men too, they have this kind of auburn color or brown. So his hair was like an orange, and I did not realize that his mother is a black lady, where his mother is from Montserrat. So it's not only a geographic connection to Ireland. There is actually how you call it, lineage or familial
Yes, there is.
ties between Montserrat and Ireland, where I guess there was a strong settlement or habitation
Of
of.
Irish.
So the culture is also so it's geographic, as Didi is pointing out. It's cultural, but it's also familial.
And we have the Irish names like the Ryans, the Osborns, and the different names. So there's a lot of Irish in Montserrat.
Right, and
A lot of
the MC be before the name Macklin, McMorris, Mac
McDonald's,
yeah,
Mac,
McDonald.
yes.
Right. They carry that strong. Miranda said I remember Montserrat as a very clean place in my
It
youth.
still is, very much so.
Mm. Right. I have never been. Um
You should come soon.
I should come. I should come and see what Montserrat look like.
You'll be
So
pleasantly surprised.
yeah, I might stay. I remember I went to Nevis around 2012, and I love Nevis. More than St. Kitts per se. I really liked Nevis. I suspect Montserrat will have that same kind of effect.
Maybe more.
That more relaxed, maybe more that more relaxed atmosphere. Really friendly and approachable people. Just that kind of vibe that we experienced when we were growing up in Dominica
Yep,
in the
yep.
70s. That was my
You
sense.
you remember these things, and we call them the soups when you go to the garden and you had the bamboo shoot from the hills and you drink water in your hands.
From the spouts
And
and so on.
we have one like that. We call it runaway goat. And
Mhm.
people come from the ships, or even when they come by aircraft, and the the sign there is, if you drink from this god, you will come back, because the water is the water is so fresh and been straight out of the being cleaned of, cleansed of everything that is
Mhm,
perfect for
mhm.
you. And you drink
Wow.
that water, and it's like you have to come back and taste that water again. Once you taste it, you have to come back.
Yeah, Miranda is expressing that she has fond memories of Montserrat because she's saying good old days. And Didi is again saying that she was in Montserrat before the volcano
Mm.
and would be nice to compare. So Didi, we should go together. Let's do an excursion and go to a This Week in Interview visit excursion to Montserrat.
Yep.
I will be our guide, our tour guide would be Miss Dorsette. She'll bring us to all the different places where Fayon, Montserrat, and Cass is set. All of those geographic location. When we come back, I'm going to ask you about that. I'm going to ask you if if there are actual geographic locations in Montserrat that you have placed in your novel. So let's take a quick break. We get a word from the sponsors and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Presented by.
People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.
How much Dominican history do you know? Want to learn some fun facts? We have a great and fun way to test your knowledge and learn more about our history. Get your copy of Dominic Anu, Dominica in Puzzle. Fun for the whole family. Available now on Amazon.com. Visit pushpast10.com to learn more. Email us at dominicainpuzzle@gmail.com or call 877-698-9894. Looking to promote your business, engage current customers, and reach new people? Well, look no further. From the basic presentation to a fully fledged advertisement, use your video ads to attract customers. At Man's Audiovisual Productions, we do just that. We produce videos for business and event promotions, product demo videos, animated explainer videos, fundraiser ads, and much, much more. Engage your clients and sell online. We customize the video to match your brand design. Guaranteed to play flawless on all devices, including smart TVs. Contact us at telephone number 203-690-4342 or 767-245-6238. Visit our website, mansaudiovisual.com, or email us at derekvideo@gmail.com.
Thank you for staying us through the break with us through the break, and thank you to our sponsors, Beacon Dental Health, the Dominica Puzzle book. Get your copy. Get your copy. Those of you who live in temperate countries, when you're inside because you go out less, while it's cold, it's a wonderful way to pass your time while you learn about Dominica. And also you can do a little bit of trivia so your kids can become as familiar as well. Man's Audio Visual does the flyers for this weekend interview. I think they're very well done. I get a lot of compliments on the flyer. They can do yours for you for your business. They can do, if you have a restaurant, they do your menus. They can, if you have a business where you have a screen or a monitor, they can have digital rolling stuff that's scrolling that you can advertise to your customers. They can do full productions. If you have a wedding or a funeral, they can come and do a production and stream it live, do a recording for you. They do everything. No job I found out is too small for them or too big. They show up if they're at your event well dressed in uniform with all their state of the art equipment and their lighting and their cameras and things on wheels and rolling around the place, and they do a good job. So contact them if you're looking for that type of service. And of course, Beacon Dental Health, they've been with us through and through. Dentist place in Massachusetts, owned by Dominican, and his wife from Montserrat, I think. I don't know. I forget, but she's from another island. She had a little bit of health challenge. She's recovering nicely. So good night to you, Cuthbert and family, and all of the people at Beacon Dental Health. I actually drive from New York to Boston because they are my dentists. Um, from the time I live there, and I decide, and it's not worth changing, even if every once in a while I have to take a 4 hour drive to Boston. So I highly, highly recommend them. My guest tonight on This Week in Interview is Miss Catherine Dorsette. Catherine is, I would say, a prolific writer. She's just released her 13th book, yes, number 13. And that book happened to be part of a trilogy of books, Fire on Montserrat, Jordan, and now A Woman Like Cass. I'm going to read a little bit out of the prologue to set the stage, and I know she also has a little episode she wants to read as well. Um, it was 2022. It was time. The plan had to be executed without a hitch. It had taken 5 full years of careful preparation, which included great expenses. But tonight, Jordan, Kyla, Derek, and that Cassandra woman would experience her pain on the darkest part of the street, some 600 meters away, opposite Kyla and Derek's house in Old Town. Velda sat tensely in a rented Toyota RAV4, waiting. The engine was off. Velda, unlike her usually cold, reserved self, was an emotional wreck. In the few minutes she had been waiting, she had decided to abort the operation several times, only to change her mind. And I'll skip a little bit and I will say, um, she closed her eyes briefly to wipe her face as the burning sweat got into them, then suddenly became still. Her eyes widened and her head jerked forward. She watched with bated breath from the dark interior of her vehicle as a bulky figure with a hoodie swiftly exited the iron gate of the Ryan's compound and began running in her direction. It was carrying something in its arms. And I'm going to stop there because I think what I've rather have demonstrated to you, although I skip some of the stuff, the type of writer that we're dealing with. And the risk that you put yourself when you buy the book, because when you pick it up, you will not be able to put it down until you've turned the last page. Catherine, before the break, I said I was going to ask you if you actually um, set your story in actual geographic locations of Montreal.
For the most part, almost everywhere in the books, all three books, can be identified on island.
Wow.
Some places, when you do go there, if you do go there, you'll find a vacant lot. It may not have this special artifice that I spoke about,
Hmm.
because I would have used a spot that people know, but the building is not there.
Right.
But when you talk about walking out to braids, if you read the book and you come to visit Montserrat, you will see that this is where she was talking about.
Hmm. Hmm.
Some of the other places, like in the very first book, Fire on Montserrat, like Reiner's Village and the other places, these are uninhabitable. They are gone underground under millions and millions of tons of ash.
Oh,
But my
wow.
husband, who lived there before and knew the place well, he was my tour guide. He told me about the roundabout and how you had to pass. And I used the poetic license, and I just created my own world where they went to meet just off the roundabout. But the thing is, people can recognize that place, persons who would have known there,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
if they have pictures, other people
Right.
can actually recognize the places.
Well, that's cool. So
So the places are real.
they have geographic places in the real that
Yes.
that has been covered by ash
Oh,
that you can no
definitely.
longer see, but they're captured in your work.
But they are, yes.
I said in jest that we should do an excursion to Montserrat, but it looks like we need to do a This Week in Interview / Fire on Montserrat excursion, and bring people over and show them all the different spots. No, it
It's
looked like
it's
that.
it's wonderful. And there is this particular place up at Garibaldi Hill where the tourists go, even the locals themselves go, where you stand between two worlds. Behind you is the northern zone of the island, where
Hmm.
everything is alive and well, like nothing has ever happened. And before you is the buried city of Plymouth. And you're smack in the middle watching this place. And for persons who live there, who grew up there, who had businesses and homes, it is such a touching moment. And for persons who have never known it before, when they compare the two, when they look back and they look forward and they see the loss, they can at some level understand why the word resilience was coined just for monstrations, because they've really gone through a lot. Yet they stand up and they have rebuilt, and life goes on.
That goes on. And is that you said you went to Montserrat and you saw a golf course, and you went back and you said you felt such a feeling of loss
I
when,
did.
right,
And that
and
was just a golf course.
that you had no physical stake in, no financial stake
Nothing at
in,
all.
nothing at all. Can you
Just
imagine?
something beautiful that was destroyed.
Right. But can you imagine that was your family home where you raised your kids or where you were
Ooh,
raised or that kind of a thing?
I
That
shudder at the thought of it.
that feeling would have been multiplied 1,000
Yeah.
times. Someone is suggesting that we have to adapt the books for the big screen.
Well, that was the idea that came up with Kate Ambler and Shirley Spikala. They said, Catherine, you have to make a movie. And I was spurred on by their enthusiasm. I actually registered a movie company called Victory Films Entertainment.
Hmm.
And I went to Piton International Film Festival in St. Lucia in 2017. And I actually shot the trailer of Fire on Montserrat. We were hoping to use the trailer to see if we could solicit funds to actually produce the movie. But that hasn't happened yet. But
Hmm.
it's not out of the cards.
It's
It's
not out of the
definitely
cards.
there. It's
Still on the
definitely
table.
there.
Hmm.
I really do want to. I know that I have the three books. It would not just be a feature movie, it would be like a mini series.
Right. And so you say, do you have an excerpt you want to read from A Woman Like
I
That?
actually do.
Uh-huh.
Yes. It's just a nice teaser
Hmm.
when Jordan meets his biological mother, Kyla. Here we go.
Hmm.
Just to preface it, Kyla and Derek are at home and they hear a vehicle drive up to the front yard. And so we continue from there. She, that is Kyla, listened attentively, waiting to hear her husband call out a greeting to whoever was visiting. But there was no sound except the slamming of vehicle doors. Her curiosity was really great then. Who is it, honey? She called out when she could no longer stand the suspense, but Derek did not answer. Instead, he came into the living room where she was waiting, with Jordan and a beautiful young woman following behind him. On seeing her son, Kyla sprang happily to her feet and started forward, only to stop suddenly as if she had slammed into an invisible wall. Her heart leapt with love and excitement. She wanted so much to throw herself at him and pull him tightly into her arms, but she dared not. She could not handle another rejection. Meanwhile, Jordan was thinking, for a moment there, she looked so happy to see me. Maybe this was not such a good idea after all. And in the awkward silence that ensued, Cass spoke up. Hi, Dr. and Mrs. Ryan. I am Cassandra, Jordan's fiancée. I am so happy to meet you. Derek and Kyla glanced at each other and back at the beautiful young woman as she chuckled.
Hmm.
I imagine that you're surprised to see us, Cass said, with a huge smile, her dimples adding an extra softness to her lovely face. The young woman's smile warmed Kyla's heart. She shifted her eyes to look at her son and found that he was looking directly at her. She could not quite read the expression on his face, but she could see that there was no animosity. In fact, as their eyes locked, she thought she saw uncertainty there. Cass, who was standing beside him, nudged him in his mother's direction and said laughingly, "You have been waiting to do this for so long. Don't let me steal the show. Go on, give your mom a hug."
So you on here because it's February, and we the king and queen declare February the month of love, and there you have a real complex, you know, um, play of motherly love with her son, um, him with his fiance, and all of that. So that kind of interpersonal relationship seems to be a thread that's running through all your writing. So a lot of people write and they just do romantic or erotic love, or and they depend on really hot, um, maybe sexual scenes to keep interest. You seem to delve a little more complex, a little deeper. Is that deliberate? I mean, do you also want to see make people who are going through complicated familial relationships find some semblance of what their lives look like? I don't know if you understand what I'm asking.
Yes, I do. I understand what you're saying. One of the reasons I think I write like I do, because it's a gift. I wasn't taught it. I didn't go out and learn it. I just do.
Hmm.
And when I do write, because I read a lot of books, and sometimes I read the books and they were good, but they seemed so superficial.
Right.
I wasn't feeling the oomph of it. And I said, when I write a book, I want my readers to cry with the characters. I want them to laugh with them. I want them to get angry with them and at them. I want them to actually feel that they are in their space, they are living in their world. And so that's why I write like that. But I also write in such a way that it is family friendly.
Hmm.
You know, you see a little love scene, we hear about the kissing, but it is done in such a way that it doesn't offend. And having said this, you can feel the chemistry between the lovers just in a few words, and it doesn't have to be anything erotic. Because of the play on words, you can just, you are right there looking at them, and it's like you can actually feel how they feel. And that, I think, is how it should be told. Of course, other persons use different skills and they bring it across differently, but that's just how I do it.
Right. And as you said, that's a gift, that's a skill, um, and it's a decision. It takes maybe a little more effort. It probably takes a little more. It's a little more complex than to just put a straight out, bodies against bodies, hot kind of scene, as opposed to creating the same atmosphere for the reader who's astute, but doing it in such a way, as you say, that it's friendly, it's not racy, it's not.
And
Um,
it is still satisfying. So it's not like you miss anything,
right.
because the tension is there, the chemistry is there, the love is there. So you really still get a really good satisfaction of them knowing that they are in love. And for example, there's a section where Derek looks down at his wife and smiles, and in italics, his thought is, "I'm going to keep her busy for a few hours," and so
Right.
it speaks for itself. But you don't
Hmm.
have it. It is not just outlandish and right in your face. It is
Right.
gentle, and you know what's going to happen, but you still do not know what's going to happen. You know, that kind of thing.
Right. 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 It's not out there like we see where everybody, the objective seems to be out on the street naked as much as possible,
Yeah.
as close to that as possible. Yeah. So this is a real gift that you've given to us. Um, three gifts wrapped in one. I encourage listeners, if you haven't gotten any of the books, to get all three, even if each one is a complete story in itself. Um, it's like having I guess, a five-course meal. Um, Sometimes we eat salad, sometimes we eat soup, sometimes we eat steak, sometimes we eat cake. But if we make them part of a meal where they link with each other at one sitting and we have good company, it's different from eating each one of its own. So I guess what I'm saying is that get all three books, because the experience of three of them as a whole, the sum of the three, is much greater than each one. And so even if you have Fire on Montserrat and Jordan, maybe it's time to skim through them again and read Cass and build it up to it. And if you haven't got any of them, I encourage you to get them. Because this year I really want to encourage the audience, the listeners, to please support, please patronize. And support is not to say that, well, I'm only buying the book because she's a fellow fan of This Week in Interview, a fellow viewer, she's a Dominican. Yes, but that's just additional reason why you buy it, because it's a good work. Um, and you buy it because the talent is there. We have to encourage our artists, we have to encourage our authors, we have to encourage our writers, because especially in the Caribbean, where we seem not to have a formal system of recording history and recording current affairs that will can be used in future generations as history. Authors like Catherine, especially, you see where she says she got a description from her husband about what that place looked like, and she captured it and put it on paper. Now it's covered in ash. 50 years down the road, somebody picks up that book, and in that novel, they can understand what was there. They can do an archaeological dig. They can do some exploring. They Somebody who knows that their great grandparent was from Montserrat and they were in that section of Montserrat can use that as clues to get back and to understand how their family and their ancestry were organized before the explosions of the volcano. Just general capturing of everyday life. We as a people, as a Caribbean people, as a culture, have to encourage our artists, because then, although we get the current entertainment from it, they're really record keepers and producers of history. So I guess I'm on my soapbox, I'm preaching. But I would really like, one of the things I'd like to come out of this speaking interview is to have a group of people who value the arts, value the skills and the writing and so on, and show that they value it by purchasing. So instead of going to buy a book that is written by somebody else, buy book from our Caribbean writers. Instead of learning about another place that already has an organized way of disseminating their information, buy from our painters, buy from our authors. Catherine,
Thank
we are at the end of the hour. It's 9 o'clock, if you can believe it. I am going to give you the opportunity to just talk to your fans, talk to your audience. Tell us about your writing process, because we didn't talk about that. How do you write? Do you write in the mornings? Do you write in the evenings? Are you driving and you get an inspiration, so you pull over on the side of the road and you scribble something down? Where does your inspiration come from? Just take us home with get to know you a little bit as Catherine, the author.
Well, what I can say is that I'm a pantser. I fly by the seat of my pants when it comes to
Hmm.
writing.
Hmm.
The idea of outlining and planning a story, it kills me. I it doesn't catch me at all. I create a problem and then I start to write.
Mhm.
I never know how my books are going to end. And even the ending sometimes surprise me. Just recently, I was speaking to my brother, Oliver Joseph. He used to be a contractor in Dominica, but he's retired now.
Mhm.
And he was saying something, I was discussing something with him, and he said something about defiance and humility. And it just clicked in my mind, Humble Defiance. And that is actually a novel that I'm working on right now, Humble Defiance. I will tell you about it some other time.
Humble
And
defiance.
Humble Defiance.
Mm.
And that's how I work. I hear something or I see something or I get a prompt. One of the prompts that I had was just a ballet dancer in a pose. And the instruction was tell me her story, who is she? And I wrote something on it. So I can write on any topic. I am inspired by things that seem silly, like a mosquito and a fly. You
Mm.
know, you see hear the mosquito singing in your ears, and you give it a slap, and hey, that can actually be a story. A schoolgirl walking down on a mosquito. You know what? And then I wrote Moss and Fling. So my inspiration is just everyday life. Any little topic, anything I see, and it touches me. I write something about it, and I thank God for it because I know I couldn't have done it by myself. And most of my books were done with just primary school education because I left school in standard 5. I didn't even get to sit common entrance.
Wow.
I'm only now in university doing my bachelor's degree in social work. So that is why I know that it's a gift, the
Wow.
play on words and how I love it so much. I could not have done it with just a primary school education, so I know it's a gift.
But you were a journalist in Dominica,
I
one of the
was. And
prominent
when I
journalists.
was a journalist, I didn't have one subject, not maths, not English, not anything. And I was writing front page stories. Because when I got to be a journalist, that was a dream come true. So I figured, okay, I have my dream job because all I want to do is write. Why go and trouble myself with those things? Because I was
Mm.
doing what I really loved. And then when I left that and came to Montserrat, I found out, oops, at least you need maths and English, so you have to do something. And that's when I started, and that was 2001. Because
Right.
when I came to Montserrat, I was 35. I am now 58. So it's been a while. So I started to go to school late. I am even now at university trying to get my bachelor's degree. So that's why I know it's a gift because just primary school education could not have made me write so well.
Yeah, but that is inspirational. That in itself is inspirational because there are so many young people who probably have a complex because they feel, oh, I did not go to college, or I didn't go to high school, I didn't go, and what you're saying is that the limitations are limitations you put on yourself.
It is because
So
I'm 58 and I'm in school.
your accomplishments are even more awesome when you understand that self-taught aspect of it, and the quality of the writing, and the quality of and the perseverance, and you're still going. um you started talking about your other works, so maybe we can spend a few minutes, and I know we spoke about your trilogy of books, but let's talk about some of the other books that you're available, because this is your number 13 published work.
Well, one of the other, I love all my works, but another one that is very dear to my heart is Anthology of Weekly Writing Prompts. I was in a writing group on Facebook,
Mhm.
and every week they gave us a writing prompt. And the first day of the prompt, as soon as I got the prompt, I just wrote a story. And it went on like this. Some persons fell off, some stayed on. And then I had about 24, 25 or so stories. And I decided to put everything in a book with the
Wow.
comments from the persons in the group. And I came up with Anthology of Weekly Writing Prompt. And I was pleasantly surprised, humbled, shocked, and honored. A lot of words. When the University of West Indies in Trinidad um, they sent to ask me for one of the books. They sent me a letter requesting it, saying that they want to have it so that they can use it for research and materials for the students. And I was
Wow.
like, wow, yeah, I felt really good.
Congratulations. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
For
felt I
sure.
felt really good. And
Hmm.
then I have the Adventures of Moss and Fling, which I only just did in November of 2023. First, I had Moss and Fling as part of a book of stories with other stories. And then I thought, you know what, I'd give them their own space. And I created The Adventures of Moss and Fling, which has 5 stories. After every story, there are questions, comprehension, and then there is a short part for composition. Because what I'm trying to do is help in the efforts to prevent learning loss. Because I understand that if you read and you just memorize, you haven't really learned it. When you have learned it is when you can actually explain it. Just memorizing it and repeating it is not the same as understanding and actually teaching it to somebody else. And so with Moss and Fling, I'm speaking to the libraries and the different schools to see how we can get a reading project going.
That's great. You know, the very first book I owned, one of my brothers was a teacher, and he went down to Roseau to get his monthly salary. And he came back with a book that's entitled The Adventures of Hercules. And I must have read that book 1,000 times, and that's what turned me on into reading, and that's made the complete difference in my life and the life of my children, obviously. And so I listened to you say that you have a book called The Adventures of Moss and Fling, and that came back to my mind, and that's a book now that is written by us for us, that is even more relatable than the Adventures of Hercules. You know, Hercules killing the seven-headed Hydra, going to Hades and attacking a dog, and all of those things that are so foreign. Yeah, it forces you to use your imagination more, because what they're talking about, you have no frame of reference for it. But I think it is so much more effective with Moss and Fling, because it is set in a Caribbean setting. Even if it's in Montserrat, Montserrat looks just like Grenada, just like St. Vincent, just like Dominica. Our people behave the same way, pretty much. And so that is so important, to have those kind of works available for our people, so that they can identify. And I think it makes learning, I mean, you might be able to talk about that even more. It makes learning more meaningful when the person can see what they're learning in their surroundings.
It does. And what makes it even more interesting is that Moss is a mosquito and Fling is a fly.
Hmm.
So after reading The Adventures of Moss and Fling, you look at those two pesky pets quite differently.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So that's what inspired it.
certainly, certainly. And I mean, we were growing up, we had Compel Happy and Compel Tick, but
Yep.
but no, so that those kind of imagination. I was watching a little video, and this African lady, was talking about something similar. She was saying, when I went to school, they were trying to teach me about A's for apple, but maybe I would see an apple once a year. You know, um, you're learning the alphabet, and the objects are completely foreign,
Yeah.
and so um, we have to pay attention. It goes back to my preaching I was doing a while ago. Folks, you have to support people like Catherine, because what we are doing is actually supporting the ability for our people to break away from that um, setting of learning from somebody else's culture before you even get to appreciate what is local. So before you go, I want to Sam gave me this thing before. It's a GoFundMe that is happening to help. Um, it says help Dale get heart surgery, and it's on GoFundMe. How do you find if you go on GoFundMe, and I guess you search for Dale, the person who put it together is Crystalline. like in Christ Eileen. Chris Ilene. I understand that he has. Well, let me read what it says. I'm sorry to segue from the interview, but I intended to do it at the break and I forgot. It says, "My name is Crystalline and I am fundraising for Dale Chalimagne, Chalim for Dale. Dale was born and raised in the Commonwealth of Dominica. He was a healthy and vibrant as a youth and actively played soccer for his community. He worked construction into his late 20s. In 2010, he was diagnosed with a heart disease called mitral stenosis. Dale still tried working as a security officer and eventually had to stop because of the pandemic. Mitral stenosis is a form of valvular heart disease characterized by narrowing of the valve pumping blood to his heart. He also has chronic atrial fibrillation. So he has had issues, and we're encouraging you to um, to support because he is part of the TDN family. Apparently, he helps with the guys who do dissect on a Saturday. Um, so if you can help, the surgery he was told at the time would cost 15 to 20,000 US dollars. Um, Dale has to opt for medicine to treat his condition, and he could not afford to pay for the surgery. So if you can help, just go to GoFundMe and search for it. The organizer is Miss Christine Elie. Um, so I'm on her behalf. I'm appealing to you and the listeners to if you can to help raise the funds for Deal. All right. So Catherine, we'll spend another 2 minutes. We'll stop all around quarter past. But I want to say how much I enjoyed our conversation tonight. Um, I sit and I admire you in awe, um, and your writing and how much you have to share. I'm going to ask you to close the interview by just put on your writer's robe and just tell us what writing means to you. If tomorrow, for whatever reason, you were to get a message that you couldn't write anymore, you were forbidden to write and you couldn't write anymore, what would be your reaction?
If tomorrow I was told I couldn't write anymore, I'd get me a recorder and I would dictate a story. I tell you that.
You would find a
If
way
I
around
couldn't
it,
write
right?
it, I'll dictate it. But I would like to say to persons who are listening, you may have wanted to write and feel like, maybe you didn't go to a secondary school or people will laugh at your story. Write, just write. It's about you. You tell your story as you have experienced it, as you have lived it. Tell it from your heart. Nobody can tell your story like you because it is yours. And write. If you want to write it, write. One
some of
person
us
might
some
read
of
it,
us have
a
several books.
million people can read it.
Some of us have a million books in our head and we never write.
Yes, like my host, because I'm still waiting for him to send me that manuscript. So just write. Don't let
Just write.
anything stop you. The only person who can stop you is you.
Is yourself.
You want to write, write. You want to sing, sing. Go for that dream. Do not be limited by anything at all.
Right. And
If you
don't be
can
too
think it, you can
mhm.
achieve it. And
And
if
don't
you
be
have an
too busy.
attitude of gratitude, you can't stay down. You will get
Exactly.
moving.
Exactly. So Didi says this episode is a perfect way to wrap up the celebration of Black History Month with our very own national icon. But she is
Oh
regional because
my.
we're sharing her with Montserrat. Our own national icon contribution to the rich history and heritage of our people. Congratulations again to Miss Catherine Dorsette. I can't
Thank you
say it
so
better
much.
than that. So your fans are proud of you.
Thank you so much.
It just goes to show education is not confined to four walls of the classroom. In today's society, life lessons and lived experiences are just as important. I guess she is talking to the fact that when you accomplish so much, even as a journalist, one of the leading journalists in Dominica, um, before you actually did a lot of your high school work. So congratulations, my dear. I
Thank
wish you all the best, and continued clarity of thought, continued vivid imagination, continued, how would you say it, motivation to write. And thank you so much for sharing your gift with us. We really appreciate you.
you are most welcome, and I'm honored and thankful that you chose to do this because it's huge promotion, it's huge exposure, and I can words cannot express how thankful I am.
The pleasure is mine. I always love talking to you. And of course, it gives me extra pleasure to share our conversation with the audience. So, all the best. Let's come back. We have more that you can come to talk about, your work, and your experiences and all of that. Um, so let's not take this long to get you back on this week in interview. All right.
Okay,
So thank you so
okay.
much and good night.
Good night.
All right. So folks, there you have it. I hope you agree with me that this was a wonderful conversation with this absolutely talented and gifted writer, Miss Catherine Dorsette. I just want to thank you for your participation, for staying with us, and I really encourage you to get the books. Don't just stop at the trilogy. Go into the others. She has a lot of other books. She has a book that deals with Alzheimer's. Catherine has poems. Just go in, learn more about her, you will really get to admire her writing style, the simplicity of her storytelling, but the complexity of the subject matter. Wonderful gift that she has to be able to bring it to the understanding of everybody without making it simplistic. And we love that about her writing. So we wish her all the best. Miss Catherine Dorsett, author of the trilogy, The Fire on Montserrat Saga, that consists of the book Fire on Montserrat, Jordan, and the newly fresh off the press, um, A Woman Like Cass. Before I go on, to remind you to go look for the GoFundMe, Christy Lynn, Chris Eileen, um, has started a GoFundMe to raise some funds to help deal with a member of the TDN family, um, to have surgery to help heal his heart issues. And so, if you can, um, donate a little bit more. Whatever you can donate is appreciated, but make it hurt a little bit. If your first thought is to donate $100, maybe do 150, squeeze it. He really needs your help. So thank you in advance for that. All right, folks. Good night. It's time we leave, and we'll do this again next week, Wednesday, for another episode of This Week in Interview. A month of March, we're going to do a lot of environmental stuff. Maybe not starting next week, but in March, because we have World Water Day on March 20th. I think 2 days or 3 days before that, it is World Day for of Action for Rivers. So I'll be encouraging you to do something specific, something concrete about protecting our rivers. But this is it. Good night, folks. Have a wonderful remainder of your week, and we'll see you here again next week, Wednesday. Bye bye.